Hi, what do you know about buyer's markets and seller's markets? Let's talk about it. Just the basic outline, a buyer's market means when homes are for sale, the buyers are in the power position. That means there are a lot of houses on the market and fewer buyers. So the houses need to work really hard to make themselves very appealing so that they can get one of those buyers. That's a buyer's market. Now, opposite, a seller's market is when there are tons of buyers in the market and very limited inventory. So they are in control of the situation. How can we use this to our advantage? So buyer's market, seller's market, it's all about inventory. How many houses are on the market? How many people are hunting for houses? And it changes by location, by season, by year, a lot of different things. They will fluctuate. So we want to know, are we in a buyer's market or are we in a seller's market? It can also change by price point or home type. So we want to know what type of house we're looking at. Is it a single family home? Is it in the $1 million and up range? Is it a starter home, like a $250,000 to $350,000 range? So we want to know within the place that we live, the price point we're looking at, and the type of home, what type of market we're in. And there are variations within those markets. It can be like a really heavy seller's market, or it can be like, it's almost even, but it's still a seller's market. So you need to know exactly where you are in the market in order to position yourself for success. If you are in a seller's market and you want to sell your house, you're like, yay, I'm in a seller's market, I'm gonna win. A lot of people get a little bit too excited at this phase and they decide to price really, really high because they're like, oh, I can get anything. And my house is so special because I love it and I love this part of it. No one cares. It's what the market dictates the house will sell for, even in a seller's market. It is conventionally a lot smarter to price your house just barely under its value, because then you can create a bidding war. And I've seen this happen. It's actually true. It seems like, oh, but not me, I should do it this way. No, listen to your realtor and make sure you get a really good, smart realtor that can break it down and explain it to you and understands exactly what type of market you're in. However, there are other concessions to be made. Now, before we talk about those concessions, let's go back to price point, because you're probably still thinking about, but what do you mean price it under value to get a bidding war? Let me explain. In Q1, in my market, in the greater Charlotte area, the trend was with pricing. If you price it accurately the first time, it had an average of 9 days on market and went for that price or higher. If you price it incorrectly and price it just a little bit higher that you think it's worth, you may stay on the market for a couple of weeks with no offers. Well, that means it's time for a price drop. And when you drop that price, it's going to be under the just under price you should have priced it out that could have created a bidding war that got it up here. And you're actually making less and you had to wait longer. And with price adjustments, the average days on market can go all the way up to 99 days. So listen to your realtor. When she says, we're gonna price it just under, say, great idea, I can't wait. Now let's talk about those concessions. If you are in a seller's market and you are selling your home, you can do it at that just under value, but you might be like, well, there are other concessions to be made, like the commission, the closing costs, repairs, what type of contingencies people are going to ask for, what type of financing they're going to have. And you can even that amount out. You can offer, let's say you need a new roof and you're not going to do it. You can offer the sellers a little bit of money, or you can say as is. So you do have a little more wiggle room in so many different areas. It's going to be really specific to your home. So please, please get with an educated person that can help you with the best offer and know exactly where your negotiation points are that can bring you to actually walking away with more money because you put less money on the table for all these other little things like repairs and costs. Now let's talk about a buyer's market. A buyer's market is great if you're buying a house. So if you are the buyer and you're like, yay, it's a buyer's market, I'm gonna buy a house. It's kind of the same thing. If you bid too low, you may lose the house. But if you bid at asking or just under asking, maybe 3% less, something like that, ask your realtor what works in your area and what the smartest thing to do is. But you can play with those concessions as well. Just be like, seller has to pay all closing costs. Seller has to buy the new roof. Or you have to get an estimate and they will give you that money in the price. So they still get that price on paper, but you're making these concessions, or they're making concessions for you so that you are able to save a little bit on the total put down or total all in on the house. Okay, now what about when you're on the wrong side of the market? It's basically the same story in reverse, right? So you could have a seller's market, but you're a buyer. What do you do to sweeten the deal, right? So you want to remove any contingencies. So if you have finance contingencies are going to be the biggest. So if you have not gotten pre-approved, don't even look at a house. Don't even call a realtor. Go get pre-approved. Get pre-approved. Get a realtor. Get pre-approved so that they know that your financing is in order. They may only accept certain types of loans. So make sure you get the most attractive type of loan you can. And then let's start playing with those contingencies. If you're asking for, and I want the curtains, and I want that couch, and this better be included, and I want that lamp, and I want the yard to be landscaped before me, you're not going to get the house, okay? But the financing contingency is the biggest one. So if you're selling a previous house and your down payment is contingent on the sale of that home, your offer will be less attractive. And I know that's tough to hear because you probably need that money, but that might be a situation where maybe you find the right buyer and you offer enough that they're okay with that. But if they get other offers for less money and they don't have that contingency, the other buyer is probably going to win. So you want to maybe think about looking for a house after you sell if it's a really heavy seller's market and you're the buyer. And there's also contingencies that you can place on the inspection, an inspection contingency. There's also earnest money that you can play with. How much money down for earnest money? If it is a seller's market, they don't want their house going off market for what seems like a good deal if that buyer's not serious. So they're gonna ask you for a higher amount of earnest money. That means when they enlist their property, you have paid this earnest money that you're all in on, which will come off the price of the house. But if you decide, I don't want this house, I'm backing out, you lose that earnest money. So they can play, and that is a negotiation piece. Buyer, seller's market, wherever it is, know where your strength is and know which way that you can play with that. It's another great way to think about, people get really set on the price of the house because that affects the market in general. So they want the price to go high because it creates a higher value for the neighborhood when the houses are selling higher. So you can negotiate with all of these different contingencies and earnest money and who pays commission and who pays closing costs to kind of write the amounts to get to the price point that you want and still get that like house price on paper that you want to see. And that works for both sides. Now, if it is a buyer's market and you're selling, what can you do to sweeten the deal? Well, maybe you can take a little bit more unconventional financing, or you can lower that earnest money. You can stage the house. I think everyone should stage their house. It definitely sells faster and for more when the home is staged. An empty house is very difficult to sell. If you still live there, you need to remove so many things from your house to make it look staged and add some decorative elements that are fresh and new, and everything has to be a sparkling clean. I remember when I moved to Charlotte from Durham, I would mop my way out of the house every time I left. I mean, it was sparkling clean, but I still lived there. It was my furniture. But we boxed up so many things out of the way, got rid of clutter, and got rid of personal items, family pictures and things like that, so that the buyers could walk in and feel like, oh, I want to sit here. I want to, and do things like putting out a pot of coffee and saying, hey, please have a cup, or there's lots of different things that you can do to attract, but you want to make sure you know what position you're in, you know what variables that you have to work with, and you know how to make a smart offer. If you're the buyer, the seller has based their price on comps that their realtor has done to help them set the best price. How good was that realtor, and how much did the owners listen? So as the buyer, you want your realtor to also run comps for the value of that home so that you have a negotiation point, so that you are not overpaying. But you just have to keep in mind, if it's a really, really hot seller's market, you may have to overpay. So it's just a matter of, if you want that much of a house, but you're gonna have to pay more, you may wanna think about a smaller house or less expensive neighborhood, or it's not on the water, it's a few streets over, whatever kind of changes that you need to make to get a lower priced home to begin with, because you're gonna be kind of overpaying for everything. Now, also keep in mind that as you're putting in an offer that is overvalued for the house, you're going to have to get your house, it has to approve for the loan that you're getting to give you the amount of the loan for the house that you want. It has to be appraised for a certain amount. So if the appraisal doesn't match what the loan says that they will offer, like loan you to buy this house at this appraisal, then they're not going to give you the financing you want. There's a couple options. You can ask for another appraisal. You can increase your down payment so that you're borrowing less money. So those are things that you can do. And that goes for both sides too, because the homeowner really wants it to appraise as high as possible so they get as much value out of their house as they can. So I hope that this explanation of buyer's market and seller's market is helpful, and I hope that it gives you an insight to how you can have discussions with your realtor to strategize your pricing and your offer, because everything is negotiable, but know where you stand in the market and know what things that you can do to even it out and make a really good offer or accept a really good offer. I'm Britt Olson, and I'm your realtor. Have a great day.